Now I welcome Ms. Nisha Rani, Assistant Manager Environment, National High Speed Rail Corporation Limited, on legal and EA expert, and she has done postgraduate in environmental science and also masters in social work, having expertise in environment legal compliance and contract condition compliance of Mumbai Ahmedabad High Speed Rail project, responsible to coordinate and review the submissions made by consultants for conducting EAA study for new 7 more upcoming high speed railway projects. Ramki Enviro Engineers, which is an environmental consulting company and takes up risk management and water resources management projects, she has worked already. And she has already gained experience in GRC, which is also an environmental consulting company, and is involved in providing environmental impact assessment services. EQMS were which provided environmental impact assessment services and audit services. And actually, this is the beginning of the technical session 5. The theme of this session is incorporating sustainability in education institutions. So far, we have been hearing technical session 4, which was the sustainable healthcare initiatives. Now, the topic in which Mr. Sharani will be presenting is on legal environmental requirements applicable to educational institutions. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello all, thank you. Thank you, sir, for introducing me. I'm really, good afternoon to all of you. I'm really thankful to Consultant Consortium of Chennai for giving me an opportunity to speak and address such a learned and experienced audience. Now I'll just start my presentation. I'll just share the screen. Just a Is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible, madam.
Okay.
Just go to the slideshow and.
Yes, is it fine now?
Yeah, it's fine.
So thank you. So may I start?
You can go to the full screen now.
You
Full
can
screen
remove
mode.
presenter
Okay.
view.
Just a minute, sir.
The 3 dots you can click and remove presenter view.
Just.
That 3 dots is there. Just click that and remove presenter view.
Now at the bottom you can see the 3 dots now. You can just click that and remove the and disable the presenter view.
Okay. On the top, right, sir? On the top?
At the bottom.
On the bottom. If I do it like this, is it
It's
fine?
okay.
It is okay?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, man. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So shall I start?
Yes, please.
Please go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon all. Today we'll be discussing on the legal environmental requirements which are applicable to the educational institutions. By the end of this presentation, you'll be able to explain what are the environmental legislation which are applicable on the educational sectors, what are the permissions which are required under these legislations, the processes which are involved in obtaining these permission, the timelines and the validity. Just a general introduction that why the environmental protection is required. It is required because we all need good living condition. We need a pollution-free environment. We need clean air, clean water, and a good food without any contamination. But still there is a pollution. So what is a way to include the environmental protection under the legal mandate? It is already there in our constitution, and it is a fundamental duty of every citizen to protect the environment as per the section 51A of our constitution. And so section 48 says that the state is responsible to protect and improve the environment and safeguard our forest and the wildlife. India has a really very strong environmental legal framework. We have a number of laws, acts, rules to protect the environment, starting from the Wildlife Protection Act through Air Act, Water Act, EPA Act, EIA notification, which is a landmark notification, several waste management rules. Now, educational sector. These all may not be applicable on the educational sector. So we will have a discussion like what all major rules are applicable on the educational sector. See, educational sectors, we can take educational sectors as the building projects. See, whenever there is a construction of a university or there is a school coming up or a training institution, so what is majorly done is the building is constructed, a laboratory is established, or so we can consider them as a building project. So we'll be taking the educational projects as a building projects and discussing the entire legal applicability. So these are the snapshot for the legal requirements for the educational sector. We'll start with the EIA notification 2006. It is a notification issued under the EPA Act. This is the prime and the only tool in India which ensures the EIA study, that is Environment Impact Assessment Study, shall be carried out for all the polluting projects. Polluting projects are listed in the schedule of this notification, and this notification mandates that all the projects which are listed in the schedule need prior environmental clearance. Building projects are also listed in the schedule under item number 8. And these building projects are generally dealt at the state level. There are two bodies at the state level, that is State Environment Impact Assessment Authority and the State Expert Appraisal Committee, which appraise the project and grant the clearances. Timeline is approximately 6 months, and the validity for the clearance, wherein this construction of the project is to be completed, is 7 years. If the construction is not able to be completed in the 7 years, then the clearance is to be renewed before the expiry of the validity of this clearance certificate, at least one month before that, and post grant of the clearance. Every project proponent means those who have obtained the clearance, are required to submit a report on 6 monthly basis stating about the compliances of the conditions which is given in these letters. Second, we come to the Water Act and the Air Act. These both acts are applicable on the projects which are having any potential to generate or cause pollution for the water and the air quality. See, these building projects, the main source is generally sewage, the DG sets emission. So these are having the potential to have impact on the air and the water quality. So they are also covering under by the Act. CPCB has issued a categorization of the industry, wherein they have categorized all the industry projects into 4 categories. First is red, orange, green, and the white category industries. So these industries, all the projects which are listed in these category list, they require the environmental clearance. So this consent to establish from the State Pollution Control Board. They are covered under the Water and the Air Act. Our building projects are also covered, are also listed in this categorization list. For this, under this Act, consent to establish, that is a consent before the establishment of a project. Consent to operate, that is a consent before operation of the project, is to be obtained from the State Pollution Control Board. Timelines for this is 1 to 3 months. The validity is 1 to 5 years generally, depending upon the fee which is being paid by the project proponent. And all the conditions of the consents are to be complied with, and the compliance report is to be submitted as per the condition given in the consent. Now, we will discuss the environmental clearance requirement in a bit detail. So basically, I already told there is a schedule in the EIA notification 2006, wherein the projects are broadly categorized into the 2 categories, category A and the category B. Category A projects are more polluting and the category B are comparatively lesser polluting, and category A projects are dealt at the central level and category B are dealt at the state level. If we talk about the building project, this category B projects are further categorized into category B1 and category B2 projects. The category B2 projects are smaller and the category B1 are the larger one, if we say in the layman's language. The B2 projects are listed under the item 8A. The item 8, I told building projects are listed in the item 8. So item 8 is again bifurcated into 8A and the 8B. So B2 are under the 8A. They are the small projects having the built-up area less than 150,000 square meter. And category B1 projects are the bigger project, and they are projects having the built-up area more than 150,000 square meter or the development area more than 50 hectares. Building projects need clearance for both the things. However, for the educational sector specifically, MOEFCC via its notification number 3252 in 2014 has exempted educational project under 8A item, exempted from the requirement of obtaining the environmental clearance. So only the projects under 8B need the environmental clearance. So to summarize, the educational sector projects having built up area more than 150,000 square meter built up area will only need the environmental clearance. However, the projects having built up area less than 150,000 square meter need to follow the environmental management guidelines, which are provided in the annexure of this notification 3252. As per this annexure of this annexure notification, there are various parameters which are to be followed. There are various activities for air quality management, water quality management, energy conservation, and so on. So those guidelines are to be followed and incorporated in the master planning and the DPRs of the project and implemented while execution of the project. In the 8B project, EIA study is required. One season baseline data generation is required. Baseline data means collecting the quality of the existing environment. What is air quality, water quality, soil quality, noise level, and the resources available, what is the land use of the area. So all these baseline baseline quality of the environment, surrounding environment. So that is to be collected for one season, and the EC is required. For the category 8B project, public hearing is exempted. So it is a simple process and public hearing is not required, and timeline is just 6 months. This is a very briefly explained process for the environmental clearance. It starts with submission of the application. There are the two forms for 8B project. One is Form 1, it is common to all projects. And the Form 1, it is specific to the building projects. These both forms are to be filled and supported by the supporting documents like land documents, the site layout, conceptual plans, and so on. And this application is to be prepared and submitted online. There is a government website called Parivesh, wherein this is to be uploaded in the state portal. And after that, it is to be submitted in the hard copy once our online application gets accepted. Then second step is the grant of terms of reference. See, EIA study is to be carried out. So there should be a scope of the study on basis of what the study will be carried out. So that scope is terms of reference. The state authority and the committee will give this scope. When we will submit our application and will present to them. There will be a presentation for this, and on understanding our project, they will be issuing some terms of reference, which we have to include in the EIA study. Other than this, there is a standard term of reference also issued by MOEFCC for all projects, including the building and construction project. So we can initiate our EIA study based on those standard TORs, and these additional TORs can be incorporated in the later stages in the study. Thereafter, a baseline data collection of one season to be done, except the monsoon, which is 1st June to 15th of September. Other than this time, we can collect baseline data during winter, pre-monsoon, and the post-monsoon. Then EIA is to be done. What is EIA? Environmental Impact Assessment. Herein, we have to list out all the project activities and to assess impact of each of the project activity. Thereafter, assessing after all the impacts, mitigation measures are to be devised and a management plan is prepared. How is this mitigation measures will be prevented or the impact will be reduced. Then these are combined and compiled into a report called EIA report. And then the report is to be submitted again online, followed by hard copy. Then after submission of the report, there is the presentation to the committee, State Environment Appraisal Committee, State Expert Appraisal Committee, wherein the project is, the presentation is to be given, and they will appraise the project on the basis of the information submitted and the presented. They may in one go recommend the project for the environmental clearance. However, sometimes they may have some queries also, and they may ask us to submit some additional information as per their requirement. Once they are satisfied with the information, or we have to come for the reappraisal, And in that reappraisal, they may recommend our project for grant of environment clearance to the ultimate authority, that is State Environment Impact Assessment Authority. Then the State Environment Impact Assessment Authority, on basis of the recommendation of the SCAC, grant the environmental clearance. And as discussed before also, once the environment clearance is granted, it is a responsibility of the project proponent to submit the 6-monthly compliance report for those conditions which are given in the letter. Next, we come to the consents. Consents under the Air and the Water Act. As per the CPCB latest categorization 2016 and further amendments which are going on, the building and the construction projects are classified into the 2 categories. One is red category, one is orange category. So red category projects are those, irrespective of the built up area, are those wherein the potential of wastewater generation, wastewater as in sewage, is more than 100 KLD. So they are red category, and the orange category are the project wherein the wastewater generation is more than 50 KLD, but less than 100 KLD. So consent to establish and operate is to be obtained for red if the wastewater generation is more than 100 KLD. It is to be obtained for the orange category if it is less than 100 but more than 50 KLD. Projects generating less than 50 KLD of sewage may not require this consent, but yes, of course, measures for management of the sewage and the emissions are required to be taken. This is a simple process for the consent. There is an application form online. It is to be filled and followed by the hard copy. Then there is a statutory fee. It is based on the project cost as well as the built-up area, and it is to be submitted. Then there is an inspection by the State Pollution Control Board, and then there is a grant of the consent. This is a brief list of the other rules which are applicable on the project. EPA Act, that is our umbrella act, solid waste management rules, environment, this educational sector project, solid waste is one of the waste which is generated, so the rules are applicable. Measures are to be taken for the management. Hazardous and other waste rule. Used oil and the waste oil from the DG set is one of the hazardous waste which may generate from the educational project. Plastic waste, lot of plastic waste in form of the packaging waste may come. E-waste, because there are a lot of electrical equipment, laptops, computers, some equipment in the cafeterias or canteens. So these e-waste, there is a potential. The battery waste, biomedical waste from the first aid centers or the medical rooms, noise rules. There is not much potential of noise generation, but still the rules are to be followed. MSISC rules for storage of any hazardous chemical in the laboratory or the diesel for the DG set. Forest Act, because some of the areas not the forest area are but along the roadside they are declared as a protected forest. So this is to be assessed whether any protected forest land is involved or not, and if involved, so those clearances may be required. Then if groundwater is being extracted, then permission is required as per these guidelines from CGWA or the State Water Resources Department. Thereafter, several permissions from municipal authorities may be required. And then motor vehicles rules, 1989. Any questions? If there is any question, I can answer.
No questions, madam. Nobody has asked questions. Thank you, madam, for that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. I now call upon Dr. Jagannath Patil, who is actually an advisor in NAAC, NAC, and he has achieved achievements and awards, specially appointed professor at NAAD QE Tokyo in Japan, and has played a key role in placing NAC and India prominently on global quality scenario. Recipient of international award by the government of Australia.
I got it.
India award.
I'm ready. Yeah. I'm ready. I can present from mine. Yeah. Thank you.
Previous experience: former president of Asia Pacific Quality Network (APQN), elected president of Global Quality Network (ILQ-AAHE), founder chairperson of Asia Pacific Quality Register (APQR). Over to you, Dr. Jagannath Patil.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are very much audible, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Just let me try to go.
Slides are also visible, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Just I have to remove my panel, right? Hide video panel, right? Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me thank CCC President and the office bearers for this invitation, and also Dr. Sri Anil Johri ji, who was responsible in connecting me to this organization and for inviting me for this presentation. So today I'm going to share the journey of National Assessment and Accreditation Council, which is the autonomous body of the University Grants Commission under Ministry of Education in the educational accreditation field for last 28 years. National Assessment and Accreditation Council is quality assurance organization in the field of higher education, and it has its genesis in the recommendations of the National Policy on Education 1986 and Plan of Action 1992. It is established by UGC of India, and it is an autonomous body governed by its own Executive Committee General Council, but it is still under the purview of the Ministry of Education with support being received from the UGC. It has a headquarters in Bangalore. Our vision is to make quality the defining element of higher education in India through combination of self and external quality evaluation, promotion, and sustenance initiatives. And we do this with our mission statements and objectives, to which key of them are to arrange periodic assessment and accreditation of institutions and or their units. We also aim to stimulate the academic environment for promotion of quality of teaching, learning, and research in higher education, encourage the self-evaluation and accountability in higher education institutes, and also to undertake quality-related research and collaborations. So over last 25 years and more, we have made considerable progress. So far, conducted 14,000 plus accreditation exercises, in which 715 universities and 13,000 plus colleges have been accredited. And in the process, we have encouraged the institutions to form internal quality assurance units, IQACs as we call them. Thousands of such IQACs have been formed across India, and we have been promoting series of good practices. And recently, we are into a regime in which central government as well as various state governments have made accreditation by NAC as a mandatory process to its higher education institutions. And in this process, we have left our print on the global scenario as well. What you can see in terms of our contribution to the international network of quality assurance education, INQUAHI, Asia Pacific Quality Network, and our continued collaborations with UNESCO, Commonwealth of Learning, European Commission, and so on. We have been receiving various awards for our international projects. To give you a quick glimpse of our accreditation status, you can see that we have reached now 4th cycle of accreditation. So every 5 years, institutions are supposed to come to us. So there are now about 16 universities and 117 colleges which have completed their 4 cycles, whereas in various cycles, as I said earlier, 14,000 plus accreditation activities we have been doing so far. Recently, in 2017, we launched a revised accreditation framework, which is a kind of a paradigm shift in terms of approach and philosophy. We shifted from the qualitative peer judgments to data-based quantitative indicator evaluation, and wherein a lot of data is used in combination with benchmarks, and so it's an online evaluation of up to 70%, and there is a peer judgment like expert judgment of about 30%. It is mostly an automated evaluation model. And we have a series of different manuals for some for affiliated colleges, some manuals for universities, also for some specialty institutions like health science, yoga, ODL, law colleges, and so on. In RAF, we introduced something called qualitative metric and quantitative metric. So, and they are based on the quality benchmarks. So benchmarks for each of the metrics are designed taking into consideration experts' views and the field testing. So every parameter that we use for assessment, we call them benchmark, and they are evaluated on a scale of 0 to 4. And we have engaged a lot of third-party agencies to do this data validation nowadays. And it is 100% ICT-based process. Institutions have to submit initially a letter of intent, which we call as an institutional information for quality assessment. And after that, there are various norms. Once they pass that norms, they are encouraged to submit the self-study report. And during the process also, there are a lot of automation, including officers, expert selection, all the things are automated. These are primarily 7 criteria, what we call them as, for the purpose of assessment of the institutions. Curricular aspects, teaching, learning and evaluation, research, innovation and extension, infrastructure and learning resources, student support and progression, governance, leadership and management, and lastly, institutional values and best practices. And that's where many of our things relating to SDG, they are captured in many of these criteria, as you can see. These 7 criteria are further divided into key indicators, and I'll show you those key indicators chart. So you can see that in universities, we have 7 criteria, 34 key indicators, and with these key indicators are further divided into metrics. They are about 115 metrics for the universities, whereas for colleges, because they are smaller units, we have about 55 such metrics. If you want to see this chart of key indicators and how they are divided across various types of institutions, you can see that in university curricular aspects, we will have the curriculum design and development, planning, academic flexibility, feedback system, and so on. Teaching, learning, and evaluation is also similarly divided into 7 key indicators. One of the very important key indicators here is student satisfaction survey, which is kind of unique that we have initiated. Every institution, may it be university or college, has to submit us the details of all the students studying in the institution, and NAC conducts a survey from all the students about the educational facilities in that institution, and that survey is used as one of the key indicators for the evaluation of the institutions. You can see the other key indicators under the research innovation, in the infrastructure, in student support also. It includes things like alumni engagement as well. In governance and leadership, we have key indicators like institutional vision and leadership, faculty empowerment strategies, and internal quality assurance system also. So this details, I will keep few details because time is limited, so that if I can have some questions I can take. I've explained you the benchmark driven assessment. So this assessment is on grading pattern. The NAC evaluates institution on 7 criteria, but the outcome is on a CGPA of 4.0. So institutions getting 3.51 and above are placed into highest category as called as A++. Below that, it is A+, that is 3.26 and above, and anything between below 1.51, they get B grade or they are not accredited. So this grading is largely now a combination of online assessment, as I said, 70%, including student satisfaction survey, and expert visit, and that is fully automated system. As I was explaining you the grading pattern that we have, A++ to B. An outcome of the entire process is not just grading, but a detailed peer team review report, statistical analysis of the quantitative metrics, institutional grade sheets also. This entire process has all the components like input, process, and output. All the criteria and key indicators ensure that these components are taken care of. This is the statistics of recent accreditations that we have conducted under the revised accreditation framework. So while connecting to the topic of the sustainability, how the NAC's framework is attempting to promote sustainability among the higher education institutions and through higher education institutions to its stakeholders and society in general. I tried to put a few points. One important point that we are trying to do through this assessment is to inculcate competitive spirit by providing quantitative benchmark as a basis of assessment. Even environmental related indicators are also integrated in the process, and various benchmarks have been given, so that if they have some green certifications, they will get certain marks. If they have certain green practices on campus, they will get certain marks. So this is how it has been integrated. And our aim is also to improve the data management practices in higher education institutions, increasing the use of ICT in teaching learning process, and integrating the stakeholder involvement and feedback in quality improvement. Outcomes-based assessment is also a key component of this accreditation framework. We are encouraging the culture of innovation and startup on the campuses, and also reinforcing the values and ethics. Particularly criteria 7 talks about the institutional social responsibility, institutional values and best practices. Our aim is also to institutionalize quality culture, promoting gender sensitivity on the campus, and incentivize various inclusive practices such as reservation policy, support to Divyangjan or differently abled, and so on. We are also encouraging students to participate in various extension activities like Swachh Bharat, AIDS awareness, gender issues, and so on. Focus is obviously on research in case of universities. In colleges and other autonomous institutions also, we emphasize on skills and correlation of academics with world of work. In all, our attempt is to reach golden mean between advantages of rankings and quality assurance process. To sum up, I can say that this framework encourages higher education institutions and stakeholders not only for the SDG 4, meeting SDG 4, which is about the quality education, but it also indirectly contributes to several other SDGs through our various criteria, 7 criteria, 34 key indicators, and 50 to 100 metrics. Each of that metric definitely adds value or contributes in encouraging institutions and stakeholders to achieve the SDGs in general. Talking about new education policy and NAC, as I said, NAC was created on the basis of recommendations made in NEP 86 and POA 1992. Now, after 25 years, NAC has made very pioneering efforts in convincing the sectors and doing thousands of accreditation activities in education. Now, when the new paradigm has been launched in 2017, this NEP 2020 has taken the quality movement in higher education to a higher level. If you see the NEP document, several places you will find mention of world quality in higher education regulation, and even in school education sector also. So there is an emphasis on quality and accreditation, and therefore accreditation is slated to become the backbone of the new regulatory architecture of the higher education that is unfolding right now. So for the status upgradation, autonomy, funding, provision of online education, internationalization, fees, everything is going to be linked with the accreditation in the NEP regime. And that's why NAC has been working on the NEP based accreditation framework by NAC, which is already initiated. And we have already introduced institutional preparedness section in all the accreditation process of the higher education institutions. Just before closing, I wanted to highlight that there is a new initiative, as our new chairman, Professor Bhushan Patwardhan, has joined as our executive committee chairman, and with so many other experts in higher education and accreditation, including Mr. Anil Johri on the panel. NAC has now initiated a discussion on white paper on reimagining the assessment and accreditation of higher education institutions in India. The details are currently on the NAC's website. You can see the link, you can follow the link, and you can encourage your colleagues to share their thoughts and suggestions how NAC can usher into new era of accreditation. So this is all from my side, and thank you very much. And if I have some time left, I'll be happy to take some questions as well.
Thank you, Dr. Jagannath Patil. Thank you very much. As of now, there are no questions from the participants. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now I welcome Mr. G. Ramanathan,
Hi.
who is a lead auditor and expert in IMS ISO 27001 and ISO 50001, ISO 21000, SETEX, and other related standards. DQ, representing DQS India. He is a post-graduation in statistics from Indian Statistical Institute, diploma in IOSH, and having an experience of 25 years with industry exposure of around 8 years in the field of automotive component manufacturing, consultancy, sales and service of automobile vehicles, and with an audit experience of 17 years in the field of audit and training, carried out more than 4,500 audits and 500 trainings for small, medium, and large scale organizations across the globe. So the topic in which he is going to talk is on sustainability standards and certifications for educational institutions. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hope it is visible.
Just say it's visible, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So good afternoon all, and thanks for the panelists and the listeners. I mean, very good sessions are going
Sir, you
on.
could go to slideshow mode, sir.
Yeah. This is okay now?
Yeah. Thank you.
Great, yeah. So I have some little presentation on sustainable standards and certifications for education institutions. Just quickly run through about the agenda. So I've just scattered into four major agendas: credentials and service portfolios, and a list of certifications, what we deal with, DQS, and then sustainable focus on education institutions, and then QMS requirement for institutions, and just to give some quality awareness. About DQS, we are one of this is called as Deutsche Quality Systems, 100% subsidy of Germany. We do certifications, we do trainings, we do assessments on second party audits. We do sustainable, audits, verification on scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, on, GRA reporting, cybersecurity we do, and then our own product called GC Mark, which is called as a global conformance mark. Many organizations go for standard certifications based on some standards which is published by IEC, but then GC Mark is our own product where organization can approach us on specific customized, improvements. Suppose an organization wanted to only focus on canteen. So we do a canteen assessment based on this GC Mark, and there will be a labeling which will be given. A customer is asking very specific to reliable on sustainable product, how this product is being made through a company has got EMS certified or OSHA certified. So that particular activity can be designed in GC Mark. So this is a checklist based audit, which is our own product, which is approved by Germany. Who we are, German's first certification body for management systems. It is established in 1985. So in India, we started in 1990s. So till now, 22 years of journey is going on. Global presence, 80 plus offices across the world, 60 countries, our presence. You name any number in the standards release, we are there in the market. 25 industry verticals, and then 63,000 plus certificates has been issued. 2,500 plus auditors across the world, and then the technical experts we involve with us, part of IEC and then council. If you see this, the scatter with the pie chart, which talks about Underlighter laboratories, which is holding a stake of 27.78%, and then DGQ. They are all from Germany and US. So it's a unique combination of US-German combination, ULDQS. So the VDMA's way and Deutsche in the Bonn industry, or their, our knowledge partners from Germany. Well, you can see the numbers or the verticals, which is divided into many areas. Sustainability, which talks about EMS, ENMS, energy management systems, or 18,001. Now it has become 45,000. And then SEDEX, Supply Ethical Data Exchange, ethical audits where we carry out for many industries, textile or fabric industries, or even for other than textiles, many industries are now coming up on SEDEX. 37,000 anti-bribery, which is also part of your SDG. Green company certifications. Many companies wanted to go for this. Now carbon footprint is now the talk of the town. Many organizations wanted to implement this green company certification, green product certifications, green packaging, which also talks about your sustainable sourcing, which is now a vital companies are coming up. Automotive market, this is primarily selling product, zero waste to landfill, zero discharge plants. Sustainability too, we talk about 14064, greenhouse gases, how you protect the fossil fuels, and then how you save your carbons in many areas. Carbon footprint we also deal with, and then product on carbon footprint on 14067. Social responsibility, we talk about 26,000, which is based on a guideline standard, not a certifiable standard. Sustainability reporting, we started with GRI, the recent sustainable reporting. Many companies, BRS are one of the requirement of SEBI, who has released that 1,000 companies in India, top 1,000 companies which are listed companies has to go for this sustainable reporting this year. So which is now coming up more on this. Many players are there in the market, but we also do this. IT related business continuity models, 27,001, 20,000 talks about on servers, IT servers, data structures or infrastructure. BCMS, business continuity model, and then TISAX, especially for an automotive sector. This sector is now booming up. Those who have certified for IATF 16949 has to go for TISAX as a complaints to the information security within the organizations. Basically, the other standards are with ISO 9000. ESD is there, and then 55,000 talks about asset management. Aerospace and telecom and medical or the prime, we have a good market share with the DQS competing with other CVs also. These are all the holograms you can see for various top companies with us. I mean, furthermore are there, but then whatever worthwhile to show, I thought like we'd like to restrict to this. Certifications on the standard importance. If we talk about, primarily you have these certifications or the basic certifications. Normally, it starts with the basic of ISO 9001, which talks about quality management system. So Dr. Jagannath has also given some insight on this, which is part of NAC also. ISO 14001 talks about environment management system, and then OSHA's management on 45,001 and 50,001 energy management. Prime focus to any sustainability is the base from environment as well as on the energy management system. But of course, quality is the pure base where you need to stand on a platform and can say that you have some system in place to incorporate for the further enhancement on environment and sustainability. So the benefits on this, the major focus areas on environment, energy, health and safety on educational institute, very focused on educational institute. If we talk about, I categorize into four, which is a major, the contribution to any university or, institutes or any colleges, if we see. So major, if you see the number of students are not less than 1,000 plus, so naturally you need to look for a transportation. So the sustainable starts from there. So, from the home to, the travel to the college or the university, how it is being designated. Current scenario is every organization or every college is outskirts of, the city, wherever you are put up at Bombay or Delhi or Calcutta or Chennai. So many colleges, you need to travel outside. So the people look for a transportation, the fleet management. So how the fossil fuel has to be reduced, how often they need to choose for a public transport. How many of them are really looking for a public transport? We do not know, because the timing of the college is different, and then the peak hours matters. So how the college or the focus from the university is done on this, even especially for the the professors or the lecturers, how do they commute from a common area? So this focus is very, very important now, because we talk about more on the fossil fuel, because the economy now. We were with 60 rupees, 50 rupees petrol or diesel. Now it is now going beyond 100 rupees, especially more in Delhi or in Chennai. So why this is happening? I mean, in the future, this is going to be further, increase. Now, how are we going to use this in an effective way? Are we going to look for an electrical vehicle? Are we going to look for a common commutation, wherein the college can even look for, the carbon credits on this, how well they can even use this, or they can look for a pooling of car or pooling of transportation, in a common place. People transporting individually can be combined together in one vehicle and can be commuted, or from a common place which is very short distance travel, so this is all been possible in a fleet management system. If we talk about power management, now the energy comes into place. Now, the conventional energy is always available, with the electricity board, how you purchase, because they deal with a very big campus, different buildings or their different laboratories or their different places to work for. And people are also more, students. Now, how are we going to give this electricity? Are we going to use an alternate, energy? There are plenty of alternate sources available, solar, or we go with, biomass, or we go with hydel energy, or we go with, any other source of energy other than coal, other than thermal. Now, how are we going to go about this? Many organizations, many universities, or many colleges till not focused on this area. They look even now more dependent with the local source of energy, conventional energy. Now, you would have heard about in papers or in news. The Cochin airport is actually totally run on solar power. So this is possible for a university or colleges also. How they can transfer, more dependent with conventional can go for an alternate energy. They can look for expansion with IEX trading, or they can import power, or wheeling technologies can be thought of with the less price, at the same time, wherein this alternate energy will always give a solution to the carbon credit, and they can always claim like how much carbon that they have saved. CO2 can be saved on a yearly basis, as Dr. Jagannath and Nisharani also spoke about on the KPIs of sustainability. The KRAs and KPIs can be very well fixed on these areas to the department level, or to the but the principal can issue this to the entire college, where they can always comply to this requirement. Waste management, when it comes to, there are different types of waste. E-waste is one particular waste, because we use a CSC department, electronics department. You take any non-specialized or generic departments, top 4 we can say, CSC or EC or mechanical or EACs. Any department nowadays, the laptop or the usage of computers are must, because of learning of new languages or new tools. So naturally, when it goes for the disposal mechanism, the e-waste plays a major role. How they wanted to look for this e-waste. So how the authorized vendor is being selected. Nisharani actually touched on this subject. So how well we need to select those authorized vendors, how we want to dispose this to them. So what is how well I can minimize this, how a buyback agreement can be planned with a renter, and those cannot be depleted to the outside world. So how well this can be done. Even many people, many students, awareness is still not there of using the mobile phones, gadgets. So they keep changing, about the youngsters among them, where this will be a glorious activity for them to change of a mobile phone. So how often they go to the shop and they go for a green initiatives on this, where there are some carbon credits which is being given by some companies, some outside dealers, where you exchange the phones, and those phones can be definitely disposed to a proper disposal mechanism. So these are all very vital role in any waste management. Very specific to the paper management. You can see, you come across in any college, the paper plays a major role. You submit workshops, you submit paper presentations, you submit any workshops, you submit to any symposiums, you submit your thesis. Anything talks about on the paper, tons and tons of paper are being printed out. So how are we going to target about digitalizing these things in a waste, so that the at source reduction is possible on the paper management? I always tell people when we go for audit, when you, you try to list out which are all the departments which is making more, paper usage. So ask those departments to plant more trees. Very simple as that. So make a, KRA or KPI. On a monthly basis, how many trees is being planted, convert those trees into number of papers. So I deplete one way on the number of papers, I sample number of trees equivalent to that. So at the end of the year, I can always say it is nullified. So the one way, the paper what I deplete, the other way, the trees which I make grow. We should go back to the 30-year-old of monsoon range. So we never get our monsoons right on time. So that's all because of this tree cutting of trees. Now, how do we choose these areas? You choose many areas, not only within the campus of an university or college. We can choose any area where there is a need of the tree plantations. So this way, one way we deplete the paper, the other way we also encourage the people to sample the trees. So the nullification should happen on the waste management. Water management, definitely now the water crisis is also actually building, not only with south of India, but definitely entire India we talk about on water management, water crisis, because day by day the population is also increasing. So with the population of students in a college, how do we reduce the water? Now, first to concentrate on tap mechanisms wherever we use the tap, whether it is a screw type, convert that into push type, so that there should be some seconds which is being pushed, so that the push type can come up. And usually you need to have a nozzle according to a shower, like how you stand beneath the shower where the shower flows like a droplet of water. So reduce the water level at source. How much you are reducing, that much it is going to save. The recycle will be saved. The subsequent energy at the different levels will be saved. Now, those used water, how you can direct it to the STP, sewage treatment plant. So what is your capacity of the sewage treatment? Are you well aware of the total sewage KL, how much you can able to deal with? And those sewage can be further being used for flushes of the toilets, where people don't need to touch those waters. You would have been surprised. Singapore, the entire population are drinking only the sewage water, the cleaned sewage water. So that is possible in India. So how we are going to use it properly? So the recycle of used water is very, very important. Drip irrigation for the gardening, because 1/3 of the total premises has to be shown for the gardening premises. So how drip irrigation is going to happen? So there are plenty of agricultural changes are now coming up by minimizing the water usage. How well we are going to use it? So everything now tends towards your sustainable efforts. Transfer of air to water technology. This is a new technology which is now coming up. Now you like our AC, how we have an AC and the fan unit which we kept at the outside. There is a same unit where the dispenser, it comes with the dispenser with the fan unit outside, where the air moisture is being getting converted. Very primary, I would say, all ocean areas, ocean cities like Calcutta, Chennai, or Bombay, or Goa. So these will have more moisture in place, not less than 77 to 80%. So we can utilize those water. I mean, very, very meager prices. You can take your ROI in maybe 6 months or 8 months, the investment, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. So you look at the population of people who are going to drink that water, and that comes along with an RO. So it is not, I mean, the effortless, you are taking the water without anything. You don't need to get a bubble top water by paying money. And you may not know like how this water is being, UV treated. It is in front of your eyes where the circulation of moisture water is converted, and that gets transferred into an RO, and those RO can be drinkable water, which can be tested against your potability with the pesticide test. So this is possible now. So how well, because the population is more in a university or in a college, so how well you are planning this? So these are all the water management or waste management where you can think about on any universities. Well, coming to the health and safety, this is also goes in line with any ethical or any sustainable efforts. We'll talk about HSC as well as on the ethical front. So emergency preparedness plan, how mock drills can be effectively calculated, how accidents can be prevented, how incidents can be prevented, how near miss can be prevented. Health and hygiene, canteen is provided, canteen is run or given to a contractor. How well we are going to audit them, how the best food is coming out, so that the food is not going to harm anybody. So it is a prasad to anyone. Incident analysis, for how best the first aid cases are being treated, good housekeeping, ventilation, illumination, and noise controls. Of course, DG, I come across in many colleges where DGs are given least importance, because India, we always have a secondary, plan on the diesel jet generators. So COVID-19 precautions, electrical safety audits, fire extinguisher monitoring. We may not know, like it is showing a red indication. how often we go and check like how this is effectively utilized. These are all the health and safety points which is related to the university level. Now QMS, very focused. Dr. Jagannath has also given some input on various factors, how they rate on NAC. The same way that we also focus on many areas on admission process, where the students and the primary customers are parents and the secondary customers as students are treated. Curriculum designing, pedagogy process, how well this is applicable to any autonomous college or autonomous universities, but not for affiliated college where they go with an other university. The teaching learning process, we start with the entire teaching learning process, how well you are planning your timetable, lesson plan, notes of lesson, everything will come into teaching learning process. And then professional skill development process, the professor teaching heat and thermodynamics, why can't he take another session? He will be focused more on only 10 years on the same subject. What is a skill of a multiple skill development? Student teacher interaction process, satisfaction of a teacher, and then student satisfaction and employee satisfaction will all come into place. Examination process, your internal exam, external exams, and then CAT exams or final exams, university exams, everything will cover under this. How well you're analyzing your people, how do they improve their performances, not only on the mark basis, how will they be graded, how the least mark scorers are getting higher marks, what are the ways of strategies that you put in. So that will have a link to your teaching learning process. Primary and secondary interested party satisfaction, as I said, customer satisfaction, and then placement services. All these are all focused on a quality management system. Well, this is a short presentation with the time limit, whatever I could able to give you on the sustainable practice. So with my team, Mohan Shankar is available in Chennai and Sakti is available and myself is there. So our email IDs are displayed there. Please make use of the service. Any inputs related to any college or any sustainable efforts, we are there to help you. So thank you very much. Any questions, please feel free.
Thank you, Ramadan sir. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. There is one person who has raised his hand, and I think you want to ask a question. Mr. I.S. Prasad.
Okay.
Mr. Prasad, you can ask your question.
Mr. Prasad, are you there? Probably you can type the question also.
Okay, but I think probably it's not in. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And any focused questions, please feel free. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the arrangement for CCC. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm very happy to introduce Mr. Ananthori sir, who has been our mentor and also honorary member of our CCC. Many people, he doesn't need any introduction to our audience because he has been instrumental in guiding all of us in CCC for conducting such type of seminars and also pulling in expert people and domain experts to us in delivering various topics, wide range of topics in this type of seminars. And welcome you, sir, on behalf of CCC. And he's ex-CEO, NABCP India, member UNFCCC, CDM Accreditation Panel, member Yoga Certification Board, Chairman SC, GCPCS, CDSA, Lead Assessor NAPCB, Lead Evaluator APSC, IAF Evaluator, and 41 plus years of experience in the field of quality standards certification, accreditation, having worked earlier in the Bureau of Indian Standards, the National Standards Body and the Expert Inspection Council, India's official export regulator and certification body under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, instrumental in supporting regulators like PNGRB, FSSAI, CDSCO, PE, etc. in developing systems for using accredited third-party agencies. He also led development of a number of voluntary certification schemes of QCI, notably Ayushman for Ayush products, ICMET scheme for medical devices, yoga certification, traditional healer certification, INCAP, INGHP, India HACCP certifications in agri-food sector, star rating scheme for private security agencies, etc. Post-retirement in July 2019, besides being a lead assessor for accreditation bodies like NABCP, ANAB and UAF, both in USA. He is a peer evaluator for the Asia Pacific Accreditation Cooperation (APAC), as well as International Accreditation Forum (IAF). He has also led the development of recently launched Good Clinical Practice Professional Certification Scheme under Clinical Development Services Agency of THSTI and DBT, as well as accreditation of Ayurveda training courses globally under newly created Ayurveda Training Accreditation Board in the Rashtriya Ayurveda Vidyapeeth of the Ministry of Ayush. He continues to provide expertise to the government of ministries such as Commerce, Ayush, Biotechnology, and Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor in India wherever needed. He continues to be a member of the core group in the Department of Commerce, coordinating development of technical regulations in India since 2017. He writes extensively on standards, regulations, and conformity assessment related issues. Now, I welcome Mr. Anil Jory sir to throw light on how accredited third-party audit model can help. Over to you, sir. Sir, your voice is not audible, sir.
You hear me now?
Yeah, if you can hear you, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you, CCC, for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to speak to this audience on this subject of how accredited third-party audit model can help in the education sector, and more focused on NAC because of some recent experiences. So let me share my presentation with you. Can you see the presentation now?
Yes, sir, we can see it, sir, but if you can go to slideshow mode, it will be.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we are able to see. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so let me give you some background. What happened? I am unable to move my screen. What is the problem? Yeah, okay. So let me give you some background. It was somewhere in 2018, I remember one of the certification bodies, TUSOD, I think it was. They sent me a certificate, which was a green audit certificate, they said. Then I also, somebody brought to me an ISO 9001 certificate, which was issued to a college in Agartala. I happened to be visiting Agartala at that time. Sadly, neither was authentic, which is not a surprise to our community. I am sure we have seen enough of this. But those who were getting the certificates would be shocked to be told that the certificates were not good enough. When I looked at the background, then I realized that it is NAC, which has actually some very noble intentions of promoting good practices, quality management systems, as well as green practices in its accreditation criteria. And therefore, there was a, market for such certificates, ISO 9001 certificates in the universities and colleges, as well as green audits or green certification, whatever you call it. But that intention was obviously, as we know, in this community of consultants, you know it very well in my community, of auditors that intention was being actually was going awry. So I initiated a dialogue with NAC at that point of time. Visited NAC, tried to explain to them what needs to be done if you have to avoid these kind of certificates. Now we know that ISO 9000 is a recognized global standard. In fact, the most certified standard globally right now. The figures will show you. The ISO survey shows that it is the most certified standard. And we also know that the very structured certification system is available. The entire process of certification is written down in ISO 17021 Part 1. And through accreditation, that is the means of authenticating the certification bodies, that if you accredit them as per that 17021 Part 1, then you are making sure that the certification process is being followed, which is laid down in the rules. Now, for those who may be from the education sector, ISO makes standards but does not undertake any certification activity. So if somebody comes and tells you that is approved by ISO, he is obviously lying. ISO has no such system of approving certification agencies for certifying to ISO standards. There's another body which is called International Accreditation Forum, which is an association of accreditation bodies globally, which exercises the oversight. But the entire system is voluntary. This is very important to understand. This entire system is voluntary, which means if I am a certification body in India, there's no legal obligation for me to get accredited, number one. There's no legal obligation for me to go to the national accreditation body to get accredited either, NABCB, where I was CU. Similarly, if I was to set up an accreditation body in India, again, there's no legal bar that other than NABCB, there cannot be other accreditation bodies. There is no legal obligation for me to become a member of IF. I can operate an accreditation body, a private accreditation body, accredited certification bodies, and they can issue certificates. There's nothing illegal about this. But then the issue is all this system, who stands and verifies and authenticates that this system follows certain rules. And those rules are laid down in accreditation standards. And accreditation is that means, but as I said, it's voluntary. So therefore, the biggest problem in India right now is there are a lot of certification bodies who are operating this outside IF oversight, and they're literally selling certificates. And organizations like universities, they have no idea at all. The educationists have no idea at all how this ISO system operates. So they are, sitting ducks. They can be cheated by giving these kind of certificates, beautiful certificates. And so the whole thing becomes it's useless. So the point to emphasize is that accreditation under IF system is the only means today of identifying authentic certificate. There's no other means, because otherwise the accreditation body is under no oversight. The certificate, we do not even know whether it exists or it doesn't. Similarly, NAC has laid down some green practices in criteria 7.1 under institutional values and best practices. This is referring to the university criteria. Things like use of alternate energy or expenditure on green practices or use of LEDs, etc. There's a mention of green audit also, and there's a mention of green certification in the NAC documents. Now, this is a very limited criteria, but there's no defined process of auditing or certifying against this criteria. So what we call certification process, which is defined in 1721 for 9001. 9001 is the standard implemented by the organization. 1721 is a standard which gives how this standard has to be certified. So in combination, they make a scheme. In this case, there is no certification process. NAC would not know that probably it needs to define a certification process if there has to be certification, but that's not their job. So every certification or audit agency is doing its own thing. Whoever are doing on green audit or green certification, which we do not know what they are doing, how they are carrying out the audit, how much time they are spending, what is the duration of the certificate, what is the frequency of the surveillance. We have no idea. So accreditation would mean that not only the competence of the body will be attested, which is our primary purpose as accreditation, but also that the scheme, certification scheme or the audit process follows international best practices. That is because accreditation bodies today are required to evaluate every certification scheme for which they grant accreditation. This is a requirement which came in 2017, in the 2017 version of ISO 17011, which is the standard that we use as accreditation bodies. And now there are rules written down. So every scheme has to be evaluated. So tomorrow, for example, I think my previous speaker spoke about 26,000, and I was wondering that he himself said it's not a certifiable standard. So tomorrow, if he was to go to NABCB and say that I'm doing certification against 26,000, can you certify? Can you accredit me? NABCB will say no, we cannot, because you are using a standard which is not certifiable. There cannot be any accreditation against an guidance standard. So so now accreditation also assures that scheme is okay. Apart from the fact that the certification body is competent, it will also ensure the scheme is okay. Now I'm going to stop sharing this, and I just want to share those certificates with you because they're very interesting. For me, it's quite a this thing to see those certificates. Let me see. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So let me first show you that green audit certificate, which I have still retained with me. So here is a certificate. Green audit. What that green audit is, against what requirement it is, nothing is here. And it's a certification, mind you. You can see originally registered 19 December 2016. Expiry date 18 December 2019. So it's following a 3-year cycle. It's talking of a annual surveillance also here. So we can get some idea that this is a certification. This is not merely green audit. This is certification.
The certificate is not visible actually. The folder screen is only visible.
Pardon?
The folder screen is only visible. The certificate is not visible.
Certificate is not visible.
Yeah, I think after opening, you have to again stop sharing and then again start sharing.
So, okay, so I should open. All right, just a moment. I should open the certificate there first. Now I should share this certificate. Here it is. Can you see it now?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so here you can see the certificate. So this claims it is green audit, but if you see the bit details below, it quite clearly is a certification, because it's not just an audit, it's a certification. Where it's showing a initial date, it's showing a expiry date, it's showing that there would be annual surveillance. So it's a 3-year certificate. We can make out some details. Certification body, of course, I know there's a certification body by this name, but obviously this is unaccredited. In fact, it's claiming accreditation by some body called Accreditation Council of India, which I have not heard. If you any of you have heard, tell me please, but I have not heard of this body. So here is this was a certificate which was given to me. And of course, you have seen plenty of 9,000 certificates, but I'll still probably try and show one for the benefit of those who may not be familiar with this system. Let me show one. Can you see the certificate now?
Yes, sir. You can see that.
Yeah. So here is a ISO 9001 certificate. We have seen plenty of these. This is again claiming accreditation from something called AIAOBAR. Now I do not know what that is. I have no idea. American International Accreditation Organization, we don't know who that is. So these are the kind of certificates which were there in the market, inspired by NAC's attempt to introduce best practices. But What happened was something else. So these were the issues. Now you can see my screen, the presentation back again.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Now again, it's not. Can you see the screen now? Yeah.
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah. So how would the third party model follow? In fact, NAC was wise enough to say that they could recognize green certification, green certification. It's there in the documents, because they are experts in educational processes. They're not experts in quality management systems of the kind that we are talking about, 9001, and nor are they experts on green practices or certifications. So it's a viable solution to rely on third-party bodies. Only problem was that, are those third-party bodies really authentic or not? And as you know, that the only means of authenticating that today is internationally is accreditation. Plus also one could encourage, because green practices, once you are encouraging universities to spend money on green practices, you could encourage them to go for international standards rather than limited efforts. Some of them may be aspirational. Some of them they want to, once they are doing 9001, they might as well think of doing other standards like 14001 or 50,000. Just for those who are again not familiar with this framework, how accreditation helps. This is the international framework. You can see IF at the top. There's another body called ILAC, which is for laboratory and inspection bodies, International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. We have 5 regions. I have shown 3 here, and India is in Asia Pacific region. European continent is in European Accreditation Cooperation. Both the Americas, North and South, are Inter-American Cooperation. There is African Accreditation Cooperation called AFRAC, which comprises most of Africa. And there is ARAC, Arab Regional Accreditation Cooperation, which comprises countries in Africa as well as in Asia who are Arab countries. They have got together to create one regional body. Now, the beauty of this system is that IAF and ILAC actually evaluate the regions. You saw in my biodata that I'm an IAF evaluator. Right now, actually, I'm engaged in evaluation of ARAC as well as of Inter-American Accreditation Cooperation. So IF actually evaluates every 4 years these regions against a set of requirements. These regions every 4 years evaluate within their jurisdiction the individual accreditation bodies. For example, NABCB, where I was, phased an assessment evaluation in 2020. And we are following standard ISO 17011. And as accreditation bodies, we evaluate the certification bodies or inspection bodies or laboratories. NABL is there for laboratories as per international standards. And I have highlighted 1721 because we are talking of 9001 here. And down below are the organizations which actually implement those standards, either for the products or for the processes or for the systems. And those standards could also be international. For example, ISO 9001 is international standard. ISO 14000 is international standard. So if the standard at the bottom is also international, then this process ensures that your certificate is acceptable worldwide. So an ISO 9001 certificate issued by an Indian certification body, accredited by NABCB, which is evaluated by APAC, which in turn is evaluated by IF, will be deemed internationally equivalent. That is the beauty of this system. And this is being used in trade. This is being used for free flow of goods. Now replace 9001 by a product standard which is international. In the previous session, Sandhya spoke about a lot of those standards on medical devices, which are international standards. So if you are certified to an international standard, your product that is, through this mechanism of accreditation, then your product move freely in countries which recognize that international standard. So that is how EU has the free market. That's how ASEAN has a free market, because products move freely in certain sectors because they have accepted accredited certification against common standards adopted by them. Sometimes regional standards in Europe, EN standards, sometimes ISO standards. So this is the framework which is there. Now, so NAC has now issued an advisory, and I was involved in getting them, persuading them to issue such an advisory to rectify this situation which has been going on with all kinds of certificates being issued. So now ISO 9001 certificates issued on the IF system only will be accepted. That has been clearly specified in the advisory. Now we also know that there's a standard for education now in QMS 21001. So that option has also been introduced, that you could, in lieu of 9001, you could do 21001, which is more focused on education. And it only says IF members. Frankly, I was worried about explaining to people who don't understand our system the fact that there are IF members, there is an IF MLA, 9001 is under MLA, 21000 is not under MLA. This was too much to explain. So I thought, let it be simple. If it's an IF member body, assuming that in India there is no IF member body operating, which is not IF MLA signatory, as far as I know. So we are safe. And therefore this advisory, I can show you this advisory. It's on the NAC website. So it says that you should have a 9001 certificate. It should be by either accredited by NABCB or any other AB of IF, or you could have 21001 certificate, again as the name. You could, for green certification, you could have 40,001, or you could have 50,001, or you could have any green certification as long as it is accredited. As I said, any certification scheme, if it is accredited, that means the accreditation body has looked into the scheme and seen that it is as per international best practice. Or if you want only an audit, because what NAC criteria uses the word green audit also. Simply the one-time audit, just go for an audit. That's it. You don't have to go for certification, which means recurring cost, 3-year certificate, surveillance, etc. If you want to just explain that you have gone through an audit and you have proven to a third party that you are actually maintaining those criteria which have been listed in NAC, I think 7.1 to 7.8, just go ahead and do that. But the most important part is in the bold there, that your certificate must carry the logo of the AB. That's the crucial part. AB's logo on the certificate ensures that it's accredited. AB has looked into the processes of the certification body, the competence of the certification body, and this certificate follows all the rules. Because certification bodies also issue an accredited certificate. I'm sure the previous speaker can tell you how many of those schemes that he told you are actually unaccredited. In fact, DQS, let me say that I reached out to DQS before going to NAC. DQS has a green certification scheme for educational institutions. And I asked, what is the criteria? It is obviously unaccredited. Now, I think they would have to look at it and go for accreditation. And it also says, the advisory also says that in 1 year's time, you should replace these certificates. Whatever certificates you have till now, replace them by the certificates as of. And 1 year is, I think, long enough time for anybody. I would realize that some people would have got 9001 certificate just like that without doing anything at all. And it would be an effort for them to implement 9001. So 1 year time is reasonable enough. So as I said, in green practices, which is the sustainability part, which is our theme today, there are very limited practices in the specified in NAC criteria. So simplest way for a university would be to just get audited by an authentic third-party agency, READ accredited, for each of the criteria that is mentioned in the NAC criteria. So that is 1720 accreditation, just as an inspection. But if you want to be more aspirational, more ambitious, you could go ahead and adopt an international standard like 14,001 or 50,001 to showcase that you are following international standards as far as green practices are concerned. The option is also left for any recognized green certification program. So something like DQS, which is saying that as a green certification program, could also get covered. So that was the idea of writing in the manner in which the advisory has been written. So accreditation would ensure that not only the audit agency is authentic, the process of the certification program is also as per, set norms, international norms, etc. And therefore, you get a good, genuine certificate. I was giving a presentation yesterday also to people who are in education sector, and I was telling them, because education uses the word accreditation like NAC does, or healthcare uses the word accreditation like NABH does, which in our language is certification actually. So I was telling them how accreditation, how my kind of accreditation can support your kind of accreditation. Well, that's how this title was there. So the models which can be followed are these. You can do direct evaluation, which NABH is doing, NAC is doing. Nothing wrong with that. You can do that. But you will realize that as volumes grow, it's very difficult to manage in a country like India, to manage it from a single place. And if you want to go global, it's even more difficult. I mean, some of the areas that I'm dealing with, they want to be global. Yoga certification board is already global. Ayurveda training accreditation board wants to go global. Then your reach is limited if you are operating from one place. So you use third-party agencies, but you still retain that decision making with you. The applications come to you. You assign a third-party body to go and do the evaluation, give you the report. This is what we call outsourcing model, which is necessary if you want to scale up, if you want to supplement resources, if you want to increase your reach, and it also will bring down the cost of compliance, because if the agencies are located closer to the organizations which are to be evaluated, in universities in this case, the cost will be less, travel, etc. If you want to do even more delegation, you authorize third-party bodies to actually certify on your behalf, which is what we call scheme owner model. I'm sure many of you understand that. Global Gap is a scheme. The scheme owner is an independent third-party owner of the scheme. He uses third-party bodies to certify on his behalf. He has the standard. He has the logo. And then you use ISO standards, the ISO system, IF system, for using the third-party bodies. Again, the same advantages, especially for global ambitions. This is how small. I mean, I have seen Global Gap office in Cologne, a small office about 15-20 people, but having presence worldwide using this model. So this is how third-party model can, in general, support whether it's healthcare accreditation or education accreditation, especially in India, which is a large country. Numbers are huge. It's very difficult to handle. 1 lakh hospitals, NABH has done 7,000 today. You think the NABH would ever be able to do all of them by themselves? Never. It will never happen. Universities, Dr. Patil is here. He would know how many universities are there, how many can be done. And colleges on top of it. Imagine the numbers. Going forward, they're talking about National Education Policy 2020. It already envisages multiple accreditation agencies in higher education, something which we would have told them just like that. They didn't need a big policy to state that. We know about it. We know that globally the regulators are going for third-party bodies. So what is envisaged is an umbrella National Accreditation Council. I would imagine NAC should become this. We don't know. But whoever is that, NAC, will need to specify the criteria and processes for such bodies. Somebody will have to exercise oversight. Now there is this IF system available. There are a wealth of knowledge in ISO standards. I hope when the time comes, this knowledge and this system will be leveraged to create a good system of accreditation in education. Thank you very much. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that wonderful presentation and insight into the usage of importance of accreditation and valid certification. There are no questions as of now. Thank you,
I
sir.
can see, not question, but I can see some sarcastic comments. All that glitters is not gold, so is accreditation. So you are right. All that glitters is not gold, neither certification nor accreditation nor regulation. But you'll have to choose the way you want to go and what will work best.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Mr. Nambi, our governing council member of CCC, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. This is Namdi. I'm a non-GC member of TUC, Consultant Consortium of Chennai. And our celebration of WAD is coming to an end. I'm privileged to deliver a vote of thanks on behalf of TUC. Indeed, it was a special program. We are fed with multiple inputs by eminent speakers. And I would like to thank my all esteemed speakers and delegates, both physically participated and through online as well, for their presence and contribution to make this event a grand success. Looking forward to hearing from you speak again in the future program. Special thanks to Mr. Anna University for allowing us to conduct this program in their auditorium, and that team also supported us in all directions, right from technology to food, etc. Thanks to Vice Chancellor of Anna University for the inaugural speech and support. Joined organized by BIS, of course, Mr. Devirasa is there, and IAS, of course, CCC also, and other supporting institutions like Association of Certification Bodies of India, ACBI, and Preventive Wear Manufacturer Association of India, Association of Indian Laboratories, and AMET, QAI, Quality and Accreditation Institute, Medical Plastics India, and National Hub for Healthcare Instrumentation Development, Andhra Chamber of Commerce, TE Chennai, and Startup Innovation and Incubation Center, IIT Kanpur, Patakna India, DQS India, and IR Plus. There are the industries where institutions, they have extended the support to us. Of course, our industry connects will continue. Special thanks to Anil Jawadi sir, who is our mentor, for his excellent coordination in selecting the speakers and topics. Appreciate and thank our sincere appreciation and thankfulness to Rama ma'am, President of CCC, for the efforts taken with sustained energy. We are talking about sustained energy, right? With sustained energy. Thank you, madam. So thanks to CCC team, all the team members, back end office team, audio video team, and food caterers and all other well wishers. Can you excuse me if I have missed out anybody? So once again, thank you very much. Meet you in the next meeting. Thank you very much.